Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the University of Alberta. We'd like to thank you very much for coming this morning. We know that many of you have traveled quite a ways to get here today. My name is Kate Andress, and this is Ewan Davies, and we will be your MCs for today. So I would like to begin by telling you a little bit about myself and the decisions that led me here as a third-year law student. I was born and raised in Edmonton. After taking criminology as an elective early in my undergraduate studies here at the U of A, I became enamored with the good, the bad, and the ugly of the criminal justice system. This was the first time I'd felt passionate about the material I was learning, especially what I was learning about the law and the courts, so pursuing a career as a lawyer followed naturally. I decided to complete my Juris Doctor at the University of Alberta for a few reasons. My undergraduate experience within the criminology program was fantastic, and through it I had become involved with several criminal justice-related community service organizations that I couldn't imagine parting ways with. I also had a friend here in law, and through her I learned about the amazing opportunity with student legal services to act for low-income individuals in court, individuals who would be forced to self-represent if not for SLS. The opportunity to interview people about their matters and take carriage of their file through the court process is an amazing experience, which is seldom available to 1L law students in other schools. You will hear more about SLS shortly. I do not know where to start with what I love the most about this school. The typical stereotypes about law student competitiveness and the impossibility of attaining good grades are completely false, at least at this school. I have never met so many friendly people. In fact, it's nearly possible to walk through the building without bumping into a friend in whom you can confide about assignments and law life in general. The environment is friendly. Staff, faculty, and students alike are eager to help you have a positive experience in your degree. Another great thing about this faculty is the abundance of opportunities for meaningful community involvement. In addition to volunteering with Student Legal Services, I have also been on the executive of Women's Law Forum for all 3 years of my degree, wherein I take part in arranging fun activities such as the Minute to Win It competition, as well as lectures on gendered issues such as human trafficking. But I think that my favorite part of this school is the emphasis on experiential learning. From mooting to poverty law clinic internships, courses which teach you hands-on skills such as creating trial binders, and internships with the Human Rights Commission, I have gained so many practical skills that gave me a taste of legal practice that cannot be matched in a strictly classroom setting. After having worked in the Crown Prosecutor's Office as a summer student in 1L and 2L, I'm excited to join Alberta Justice for my article this summer. I hope that today we can provide you all with the information you need to make this important choice. This event is designed to give you a snapshot of what life is like at U of A Law. There is an enormous amount of information that will be thrown at you today, but if at all possible, I encourage you to not worry about the details and just take in the environment. Get a sense of what our community is like and see if this is the right fit for you. Before I hand the mic over to Ewan, who will give you a rundown of today's schedule, I'd like to thank Steve from Hello My Friend Cafe, which is located downstairs in the Gavel. Steve graciously provided all the tea and coffee this morning. And if you attend law school at the U of A, you will come to know Steve very, very well. He is a pillar of this faculty and a friend to every student. So thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Kate. Hello, everyone. My name is Ewan Davies, and I am also a third-year law student. I didn't grow up in Edmonton. I kind of grew up across the country, rather. I was born in BC, went to high school in Newfoundland, did my undergrad in engineering out in Montreal, then worked in Toronto, and then came to the U of A. So now I'm lucky to be living in the Big E. When I first arrived at the U of A Law, I was certain I wanted to practice in construction law. I wanted to ride in on my legal horse and resolve bitter disputes between construction contractors and the owners. Fast track through 3 years of law school, and now I've completely 180'd. After exposure to the U of A's broad course selection, engaging professors, and guest speakers, I became interested in a very different area of law I now hope to practice in upon graduation. So after my first year of law school, I was fortunate to find a summer placement at a Calgary law firm, and I will also be commencing my articles there shortly after graduation. By the way, I'm not sure how many of you here are from Calgary and would hope to return there after law school, but please know that the firms there are very receptive to the U of A grads. The Career Services Office here is well-connected and assists hugely in facilitating your search for summer jobs or for articles. If you do have any questions about the Calgary interview process, feel free to come find me at one of the breaks or after this presentation. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Both Kate or I would be happy to answer any of your questions. So you have already heard from Kate about how much she has enjoyed her time at the U of A. And really, I can only echo that sentiment. The diverse array of experiences over these past 3 years has been overwhelming. So perhaps the most notable experience for me has been my involvement in Law Show. And for those of you who don't know, Law Show is this massive theatrical production put on exclusively by law students. And it raises a lot of money for charity. So coming from a background in engineering, I had zero experience in theater. So I was like, when I showed up in my first year of law school, I was welcomed with open arms into Law Show. And then oddly enough, in my second year, I was able to play the lead role on stage in front of a sold out crowd. It was overwhelming. So this year, as Law Show celebrated its 20th anniversary, I was fortunate to be involved as the acting co-director, working with over 30 talented law students, as we brought forward the production of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Aside from Law Show, I've been very fortunate to enjoy a variety of memorable experiences over the past 3 years. Volunteering with SLS, writing for the law student newspaper, The Canons of Construction, working as a teaching assistant for the first-year legal research and writing course, and playing countless games of futsal, squash, and ping pong. Also studying. The studying's great. The reason I mention these experiences is because I think they illustrate my favorite characteristic of U of A Law, the vibrant, buzzing, inclusive, and welcoming student body. So quickly moving into some small housekeeping items. Please note that today's presentations are being videotaped and posted on our website so that the students who cannot attend today will be able to watch them. Only the speakers are videotaped and not the audience, so don't worry about this if you'd like to ask any questions. Washrooms are located downstairs. The ladies' washrooms will be to your right and then right again as you go down the stairs, and then the gentlemen's will be to your left and then left again, just across from the student lounge, affectionately called the Gavel. Oh, excuse me, my pages are stuck. If you refer to your pamphlet, you will see a brief roadmap of today's program. So over the next hour, we'll hear from various speakers who will share insights on the various benefits that this school has to offer. Then we'll break into smaller groups and head into the Knowledge Cafe portion to tour the building and meet some of the student group's alumni and faculty. You'll be led by student volunteers who are extremely friendly, so please ask as many questions as you like. They only want to answer them. Lunch is at 12:15 and will be catered by Upper Crust Catering. It'll take place just outside of these doors. Once you have completed your lunch, you will reconvene with your Knowledge Cafe group leader. So please make sure you know where they would like to meet at 1 p.m., at which point the Knowledge Cafe component will begin again. So just so you know, this is room 237. This is your home base, so feel free to leave your bags, jackets, and everything here, but please take all your valuables.
So at this time, I would like to introduce the host of today's event, Dean Payton. Paul D. Payton was appointed Dean of Law and Wilbur Fee Bowker Professor of Law at the University of Alberta Faculty of Law in 2014. An expert on legal ethics, professional responsibility, the regulation of lawyers, and corporate governance, he has been recognized for his work in the United States, Canada, and England. He is a member of the ABA Business Law Section Professional Responsibility Committee and is consulted as an expert on ethics and governance issues across North America. Between 2008 and 2014, Dean Payton was Professor of Law and Director of the Ethics across the Professions Initiative at the University of the Pacific McGeorge School of Law in Sacramento, California. He previously had been on the faculty at Queen's University in Canada and a fellow of Stanford's Keck Center on Legal Ethics and the Legal Profession. In 2012 to 13, he served as Pacific's inaugural Vice Provost with administrative responsibilities across all three of Pacific's campuses in Sacramento, Stockton, and San Francisco. He has been an invited or keynote speaker for many leading academic legal ethics conferences and for state bars and law societies across the US, UK, and Canada. Dean Payton holds undergraduate and law degrees from the University of Toronto, a Master of Philosophy in International Relations from Cambridge, and a master's and doctoral degrees in law from Stanford. Prior to entering full-time academia in 2004, he practiced for a decade as a commercial litigation partner, as in-house counsel to PricewaterhouseCoopers, and as justice and social policy advisor to the Premier of Ontario. His published work includes leading articles on the ethical challenges for corporate counsel, on lawyers, ethics, and Enron, on the changing role of auditors, and on multidisciplinary practice, alternative business structures, and lawyer regulation. He writes a monthly column on ethics and the profession for Lexpert magazine and twice a year for Lawyers Weekly in-house counsel. He received a Distinguished Service Award from the Ontario Bar Association in 2014 in recognition of his contributions to the legal profession, and holds an Arbor Award from the University of Toronto for Distinguished Volunteer Service. Please welcome Dean Payton.
Thank you very much, Kate, and wow, this is just incredible. We are so glad that you're here, over 220 RSVP'd, which I think is a record. Welcome, and congratulations, because one of the joys of this event is that you've already been admitted to our community, and what today is about is making sure that you have the information that you need to make the right choice for you. We're glad you're here. As Kate's indicated, I'm Paul Payton. It's my privilege to serve as Dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of Alberta. As she noted, I came here from California, which will give you an indication of what I believe about this place and the importance. So we'll come back to that a little bit later on. But we're excited that you're here. You have a great day ahead. You're going to hear from me for a few minutes about some of what we're doing and where we're heading as a faculty, the importance of the teaching, the research, the service, and as Kate's indicated, I do a lot of studying and consulting and writing about the legal profession and the way in which the legal profession is changing in Canada, the United States, in the UK. This is an extraordinary place to be at this time, right now, to prepare yourselves for what the future of the legal profession is and will be, and how you will be part of shaping it. We look forward to welcoming you. I'm an optimist, so I know you're going to be here. We look forward to welcoming you and your families, your spouses, your partners, your friends into the Faculty of Law, University of Alberta community. And that word, community, is something I'll be referencing a lot this morning. You've heard it already. You're going to hear a lot more about it. It's one of our strengths as a faculty and as a university. And while you're both here and beyond, in the legal profession and in the broader community of alumni, that word remains important and resonant. I've been fortunate to be at different law schools in different places across North America and in England, and I can tell you, it's actually rare to have this kind of bond as community. And sure, we're here, we're trying to make sure that you're coming here. It's not just empty words. And so I'll come back to it in a couple of contexts in my remarks. You're going to be hearing from students, from an alumni, from lawyers, from faculty, from others as you visit today. Make sure you get the information that you need. I know it's sort of sip of water from a fire hose. There's a lot to take in. Find out the questions that you need to ask. We've got people who can answer them, if not today, then on future occasions. And as I said, one of the things that's so terrific is you already have that admission ticket. You've distinguished yourselves amongst the best applicants to law schools in Canada. You bring an outstanding set of LSAT scores and GPAs, but more importantly, a wealth of educational, work, and life experiences that not only enrich the perspectives from which you'll be studying the law, but which will inform you and your classmates, your colleagues, and your friends as you both study the law and as you go on to practice. I don't have the numbers in front of me this past fall, but a few statistics, and some of them are on the website, so with that caveat in mind, I think our entering class this past year, the median age was 25, but we had people entering from 21 to 52. I know we had people coming in who were a military intelligence officer, somebody with a PhD in fine arts who had actually been a professional in ballet. We have anthropologists, we have historians, we have engineers, we have thespians, we've got people who had worked in Parliament, who want to work in Parliament. We've got people from all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of communities, and they come together to construct and create this new community of which you will be a part from day one when you enter. Before I go further into why I believe that joining us here at the University of Alberta Faculty of Law this September is a great choice and one we hope you'll make. I want to introduce you to a few members of our Student Services team who've worked so hard with everybody else and the students, the volunteers downstairs, those of us who are up on the dais this morning, to put today's festivities together. You'll get a chance to meet them directly, but I want to do a few introductions right now, if I might. Patricia Neal, our Career Services Officer. Mandy Seidenberg, our Career Services Officer as well. Kamal Kumar, our Student Life Coordinator, new to the faculty this year. Heather Richholt, who's the Student Advisor for Admissions and Records. You may have heard from her already directly. And Gloria Strathern, who's our Prizes and Awards Coordinator. Last year, we handed out over $1.3 million in scholarships, bursaries, and other awards. And Gloria is key to making sure that all of that happens. We're here for your support in many different ways. And I want to talk about how the Student Services team is devoted to helping U.S. students navigate law school, both in and outside class, from the day you arrive and before even you arrive, as today suggests, until the day you graduate and when you become alumni. I'm going to come back to speak further about Student Services a little later, because I know what the team provides is critically important for all of you, and many of you will have concerns even before arriving about, will I get a job after graduation? What will it be like? What about financial aid? All of those other issues, feel free to ask any questions that you have right now. But they're here to help you set up for success. It's a remarkable testament to the power of the U of A law degree that in the last 3 years, over 90%, actually 93, 95, 98% of our graduates have secured articling positions on graduation. We've got some challenges right now in a challenging economy, but they and I am out talking to firms in Vancouver, in Calgary, in Toronto, in Red Deer, in other places across Alberta, across the prairies, and across Canada to make sure that where you're coming from, you can head back to or you can explore new territory. So one of the things is that we're proud locally, we're important regionally, and we have impact nationally. And I think those three things really bring us together. So why earn your law degree here? When you become a member of the University of Alberta's Faculty of Law community, you're entering a community with more than 100 years of making the law and making a contribution. It's a community with a distinguished tradition of learning the law and, importantly as well, engaging in service to the community, locally, nationally, and indeed internationally. We're a community of teachers, a community of scholars, a community of researchers, a community with a diverse and multi-talented student population, and a community with engaged alumni that support and indeed advocate for us every day. As you're likely aware, the current Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada, Beverly McLaughlin, is one of our most distinguished graduates. Last October, a number of faculty members and I had the privilege of traveling to the Supreme Court of Canada in Ottawa for the welcoming ceremony for the newest member of the Supreme Court, the Honorable Mr. Justice Russell Brown, very distinguished member of our faculty until 2013, and his meteoric rise on the bench from the Court of Queen's Bench of Alberta through the Alberta Court of Appeal to the nation's highest court. Our graduates are among the most distinguished members of the bar, not only here in Edmonton and in Calgary, but in Vancouver and in Toronto and smaller centers across Western Canada. They argue the precedent-setting law cases that you will study. Last night, you'll note that it's actually very busy and there are a few judges in robes running around. We're actually hosting the Battle of Alberta, the Alberta Court of Appeal moot between U of A and Calgary is going on. And last night, one of our alumni and one of our instructors was actually here to look in, to watch some of the rounds being argued. She had actually argued the case that they are using for the purposes of today's event at the Supreme Court of Canada. It's quite extraordinary in terms of the reach that we have. They're going to provide policy advice to government leaders. You're going to write the legislation. You're going to drive business and do the deals that take business in new and exciting directions. You may create the businesses that actually end up hiring lawyers, some of your classmates potentially, to end up moving that forward. You will contribute to serving your clients and to serving the public in all sorts of critically important ways every day. Over the nearly 2 years now that I've been part of this extraordinary community as dean, I've met U of A grads all over the world doing amazing things. One of them, who had practiced in Edmonton before heading to the UK, now leads the entire country practice for Norton Rose, a major international firm, for all of Brazil. I met another one who heads the tax practice in New York City for one of the world's largest firm networks. One, based out of Toronto and Thunder Bay, represents Aboriginal and Indigenous communities in Northern Ontario and in their fight for justice and redress across Canada. I've met others who have been presidents of the Law Society of Alberta, who have developed their own businesses, have established family law practices, who have served as crown prosecutors in the North, in Grand Prairie, in Red Deer, in Lethbridge, in Saskatchewan, in BC, and elsewhere with distinction and pride. They're all part of and remain dedicated to this community. They and you will change and shape not only the law, but the lives of the clients that you represent and the communities of which you're a part. That's both a tremendous responsibility, but what a huge opportunity. And that's something that I hope each and every student takes away from their time here at the Faculty of Law. That communities matter, that helping to build healthy ones is an important part of our responsibility to the profession we've chosen, to the broader public that we serve, and to respecting the public trust that we enjoy as members of the legal profession. My own work as a scholar and teacher in both Canada and the United States for more than a decade, after more than a decade in practice, has focused on legal ethics, professional responsibility, ethics in corporate contexts, and the changing legal profession. And I'm very proud of the ways in which this faculty and its students, alumni, staff, and others endeavor to live up to the tremendous responsibility that we have for that charge. When we welcomed the class of 2018 last September, the Right Honourable Kim Campbell, former Prime Minister, first female Minister of Justice, and principal of the Peter Lougheed Leadership College just down the street and friend of this faculty. We have two of our third-year students serving as team leaders in the Peter Lougheed Leadership College inaugural year. And we're building connections with leadership training because you as lawyers will be leaders. And we see that as an important part of your training in addition to learning the law and the substance of the law in a foundational way that remains a core part of our curriculum. She spoke about that trust and responsibility to our incoming class right on day one. And I'm very excited to announce that the Honourable Mr. Justice Brown has confirmed that he will be here this September to deliver the keynote address to the entering class. So I hope you're here to have the opportunity to hear him then. You should come to the University of Alberta Faculty of Law because of the community, but you should also come here because the U of A law degree provides tremendous value. I actually had an instance last weekend at a Dean's Welcome in Toronto with somebody who's considering coming here with his parents in attendance going, "Your tuition's a whole lot lower than Ontario, what's wrong? Why are you so cheap?" It was attractive, but at the same time, it was something that concerned me because the sense that we're somehow a discounted law school is completely wrong. There's a history of tuition policy in the province that informs the manner in which tuition is set, but it in no way affects the quality of the scholars, as you'll hear in a few moments, of the education that you're having, and the respect that a U of A law degree has indeed across Canada. So in that respect, for those of you who are parents or other supporters who are actually going to be paying the tuition, we're a great bargain. So in terms of crossing that off, but as I said as well, we've got tremendous financial aid. And I want to make sure that we appreciate. I'm somebody who paid his own way through undergrad, grad school, law school, graduate school, and neither of my parents had a college degree. So I know what it means to take on student debt. I know those concerns about getting a job later on, and I've lived it. It's an important decision, and I think in terms of what we're putting in place to make sure that you succeed, it's in the classroom and outside as well. And so our student services team is extremely dedicated, as we all are, to ensuring that part of the success, and it's something that I keep in mind in terms of the tremendous privilege that we have. You are going to meet an extraordinary group of people, faculty, staff, current students, alumni, and I want to talk about the scholarship and the teaching that goes on here, because you will have an amazing group of scholars and teachers from whom to learn, with whom to grow, while you're here and beyond. It's often the case that people focus on teaching or they focus on research. We're very proud of a community that focuses on both. Over the past 5 years, 4 of my colleagues have won University of Alberta-wide teaching awards. So not only excellent teaching in this faculty, but recognized across this university as tremendous teachers who are innovating. Peter Sankoff and Stephen Penny are flipping their classrooms. You can see some of their stuff online, and we'll point you in the right direction if you want to get a bit of a preview. It's a different way of learning, and they're experimenting and taking it forward, adapting to change for ways in which you can learn criminal law and evidence and otherwise. Annalise Acorn, Eric Adams, Mitch McInnes, and I mentioned Peter Sankoff. Some of you may recognize him from the trial of Mike Duffy. Peter has been sort of all things commentary on Mike Duffy all the way through. Our faculty members are in the press all the time, commenting, writing, speaking, thinking about influencing the law. We've got other faculty of law recipients of the Rutherford Award, which is another university-wide award for excellence in undergraduate teaching. Shannon O'Byrne, David Percy, Rod Wood, Bruce Ziff. Those names represent more than 1/4 of our full-time faculty, more than half of whom have won their awards in the past 10 years. As a lawyer, I kind of know math sometimes, but in that respect at least, that's a tremendous percentage of not only excellent teachers, but teachers who are being recognized across campus for their teaching excellence. I mentioned as well that they're at the forefront of innovation, and we have many senior legal scholars of decades of wisdom to impart. It's a wonderful dialogue between them and with them. You'll hear from Stephen Penny on criminal law in an age of terrorism. You'll get a chance to meet, I hope, Linda Reif, who's our CN Professor of International Trade, who's presented on the United Nations Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights and on Canadian trade policy on free trade agreements. Dr. Joanna Harrington is currently the Fulbright Canada Visiting Research Chair in Policy Studies at the University of Texas in Austin. She's the past recipient of several prestigious grants focusing on international human rights litigation, particularly in urgent situations of grave human rights violations. She's represented Canada at the United Nations and at the Organization of American States and has served as a consultant with the United Nations Development Program. Some of you may have heard about Tim Caulfield, who spoke at one point in one day to more than 20 UK media outlets about why Gwyneth Paltrow is wrong about everything. Question mark, because the lawyers made him add it. Tim's book on the clash between science and celebrity culture has been reviewed in newspapers across North America, but what informs it is his work at the Health Law Institute here at the faculty that's based in empirical science about what's happening with health law and health policy. They are doing research into stem cell tourism, organ donation policy, alternative medicine. And another member of the Health Law Institute, Professor Ubaka Ogbogu, was all things Ebola for a while, and then he was Mr. Vaccination Policy. You may have seen him on the CBC National. I like to say that when there's some sort of pandemic, I'll go down the hallway and Ubaka's there. Take that for what you will. Shannon O'Byrne was cited in a 2014 Supreme Court of Canada decision that created a new general duty of honest contractual performance based in part on her publications. It's changing the way that people do contract in Canada. And these names may not mean a lot to you right now. You can go take a look at our website, which we're updating over the summer. But if you join us, you'll have access to some of Canada's and the world's best legal scholars who are among the best teachers at this university. They will be your mentors and guides. Research is another reason to choose to come here, because we've got tremendous research opportunities for students to work alongside the team, whether it's in corporations, taxation, Aboriginal law, biotechnology policy. It's research that's relevant and influential in law reform and in policy development. We have 3 centers to note. The Center for Constitutional Studies. It's a hub for constitutional research and public education in Canada. Those political science junkies amongst you will want to make sure you focus on that. The Health Law Institute I've mentioned, established in 1977, is one of the world leaders in terms of health law and policy and the intersections across campus and around North America. We also are the home to the Alberta Law Reform Institute, the official law reform agency for the province of Alberta, and it provides independent, comprehensive advice to the government and to other agencies to ensure that the law and the administration of justice are up to date and serve Albertans and Canadians to the best extent possible. You're going to hear a lot more about student life, so I won't spend too much time focusing on that, but a couple things I want to note. Kate was a member of the Magna Carta team, and some of you may have been aware that the Magna Carta actually toured Canada, including a stop at the Alberta Provincial Legislature. We hosted an event there, but we hosted a number of Magna Carta themed events, and one of the highlights for me and for the faculty was the Miss Magna Carta project, a group of 5 faculty of law students in Vice Dean Moyniaya's, wave hello, law and social media class who created a Ms. Magna Carta blog. They posted daily for 3 months on the 800-year-old Magna Carta and its implications on contemporary legal issues. They received international media attention. a mention in the House of Commons. It's extraordinary. I was actually in the UK for a celebration of the Magna Carta at Runnymede in June, and people were aware of what we were doing here at the University of Alberta, led by the student team. More recently, in honor of International Women's Day on Wednesday, the Magna Carta students, including Kate, were interviewed on 630 CHED and in the University of Alberta student newspaper, The Gateway, about their new project, Ms. Suffragette, and you can take a look online to find out what's going on there. But if blogging and media appearances aren't your thing, there are a multitude of other activities that you should explore. As Ewan suggested, an engineer can become, well, the lead in Law Show. You may discover talents in dance that you never knew you had. Preparing for public presentations in ways that stretch and grow are really good in terms of preparing for a life in the law. There are three things that I constantly emphasize as unique to the law school experience, and I encourage you to do at least one, if not two or all three. Student legal services, which provides a critically important support to members of our community. Moot court, which is an opportunity for you to stand up and argue in different kinds of contexts and experience learning in a very different way. And the Alberta Law Review, which is a student-run, peer-reviewed journal of scholarship that's at the cutting edge. But join the Law Review, join the Mental Health and Wellness Committee, become a student legal services caseworker. The possibilities are endless. And so you get a flavor of all of that today. But I just want to do a bit of a rundown on the last couple weeks here at the faculty. First week of March, our Aboriginal Law Students Association hosted daily lectures for 5 days from some of the most prominent members of the Aboriginal community and the judiciary on the findings of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and how that's important for the law and for lawyers in Canada. We had a visit from representatives of the Competition Bureau who presented on the Bureau's approach to competition law and corporate compliance, looking at trade and antitrust. We've had several successes with our moot teams. Very proud last weekend to be with the Davies Corporate Securities and Corporate Securities team, as this year they took third place in the national competition. The Wilson Moot team, we won first and third place oralists. The client counseling competition this year was second place team. There are other successes, I'm not going to name them all. It's a tremendous program. Last year we had 35 people try out, this year 80. It's a tremendous, tremendous momentum that's happening here in all of these areas. And as I mentioned, there is the Battle of Alberta today. Those of you who are from Calgary, maybe even from U of C, will allow you for today to wave the flag for the U of C teams competing here. But we enjoy that kind of healthy competition and the opportunity to participate. Other events. On Wednesday afternoon, I hosted an informal Q&A with Barbara Shedler-Fisher, who's the Deputy Head of Mission for the Embassy of Switzerland in Canada, who is visiting Edmonton as part of a mission organized by Global Affairs Canada, and we had her here for a Q&A with the students about opportunities as a diplomat, about Swiss trade relations, about what the Swiss think about American politics. You should have been there for that one. About the trade relationship between our two countries, amongst other things. On Thursday, so that was Wednesday, on Thursday, as part of U Alberta Pride Week, I was honored to co-host a visit to the university by Maurice Tomlinson, a Jamaican lawyer and litigant and human rights activist who's on the front lines of defending the rights of LGBTI peoples using his legal training to challenge discriminatory laws in the Caribbean. Our faculty and students and members across the university had a chance to talk to him directly about his experiences, as well as view a documentary about his work. And just before the film screening on Thursday, our Outlaw group, which is the LGBTI group, who in collaboration with our Tortfeasors hockey team and our Golden Barristers rugby team hosted a drag show and raised $1,500 for You Can Play, an organization committed to ensuring equality, respect, and safety for all athletes without regard to sexual orientation. It's an extraordinary collaboration. They plan to do it again next year. Next week, the faculty is going to host a debate sponsored by the Rutherford Society, a new organization between constitutional lawyers and scholars on the right and on the left regarding the Supreme Court's decision on union collective bargaining rights. We have political perspectives of all stripes. We have robust debate and an environment here where we foster respect for a diversity of views, backgrounds, and experiences. We foster respect for each other, and that's critically important to me as dean of this faculty. I'm really proud of the work that all of these students and the student organizations are doing to build community, one of inclusivity, diversity, and respect, and there's a whole lot more where that came from. So remember, during your law school journey, should you come here to join us, and I do hope you will, you are going to have the support of professors, staff, alumni, colleagues, and friends. many of whom are sitting with you today that you don't even know yet. And in dealing with the student services support, it's frontline, but it's also peer support from each other. And you're going to hear from some extraordinary students and alumni about that today. So I stand between you and them, and then lunch and the experience, so I'm going to stop it there. But let me just end by saying, again, congratulations. You have an admission ticket to an extraordinary experience. It's a wonderful community, a tremendous responsibility, and a real opportunity in terms of building part of who we will be as a community in Edmonton, in Alberta, and in Canada. I hope you decide to join us. Thanks very much for coming today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Payton. I would now like to introduce Scott Poitras, who will speak about the alumni perspective. Mr. Poitras is a recent graduate from the U of A Faculty of Law and holds a biological sciences degree also from the U of A. Prior to law school, he spent a great deal of his time volunteering with the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation, the Canadian Mental Health Association, and the St. Albert Youth Centre. During law school, he worked on the student newspaper, Canons of Construction, advocated for students to be granted a grace period if they forgot their U-Pass, a student transit pass, and volunteered for the school's greatly anticipated annual law show. In his final year, he served as president of the Law Students Association, the LSA, co-editor-in-chief of Canons of Construction, in addition to co-founding the Canadian Law Students Forum and the LSA's Mental Health Committee. As you can tell, Scott has had a very positive impact on students, faculty, and staff, and it is an honor to have him here today. Please join me in welcoming Scott.
It's always a little too low for me. Good morning. The Dean is certainly never an easy act to follow on the speaking circuit, but I'll give it my best shot. So first and foremost, congratulations. It cannot be overstated. Getting accepted into law school, getting accepted into this law school is an incredible accomplishment. Now, I know many of you started making plans the moment you found out. You have to figure out where you're going to live. You have to figure out your finances. You have to read the entire Constitution. There's a zillion different things you have to do, but I encourage all of you to take a moment to yourself and acknowledge the hard work it took to get to this point. When I had finally started law school, after all the months of anticipation, the number one thing I remembered when I started was being absolutely amazed at the sheer diversity of my classmates. There was literally someone from every walk of life. We had former politicians, physicists, MBAs, teachers, nurses, police officers, accountants, parents, children, mature students, and really young students. You name it. In fact, one of my favorite memories or examples of this diversity is we were about 2 weeks into first year, and everyone's still kind of feeling each other out. Hey, how you doing? Where are you from? And there was 2 students, and one day he turns to his classmate and he says, "You still don't remember me, do you?" She looks at him quizzically, like, I'm really sorry, like, I don't. And he said, "Where did you go to elementary school?" And she says, and he says, "Who was your grade 6 math teacher?" And she pauses for 4 or 5 seconds, and she says, "Mr. Stewart?" See, I wrote pause in there, and that was good. So while you've all taken exciting, diverse pathways to get to this spot, there is one common trait amongst all of you: accomplishment. And for all of you bright and enthusiastic admitted students, that's going to continue. But it isn't going to be easy. Just as I remember getting admitted into law school, I just as vividly remember my first year. Oh, the first year of law school. You've got torts, foundations, legal research and writing, criminal, constitutional, property law, contracts. You've got a ton of rereadings, and then you've got a ton of rereadings, because more often than not, it's not going to make sense on the first try, or the second, or the third, or you keep trying even into practice. But you'll put your head down and say, "I got this." And sure enough, throughout your first year, you can start to see it in yourself. And you can start to see it in your classmates. A light bulb goes on. While you recognize you don't know everything, you start to see patterns. You start to learn the language of the law. And as your confidence starts to come up, every once in a while, you'll just sit back and look at a note you've written, and you'll just think, "I am the smartest person ever. Look at these words. I made that." My mind just made a baby, and it's beautiful. Of course, you always snap back into class and realize, nope, still got a lot to learn. And of course, your second and your third years will come along. And to me, as someone who loved getting to know my classmates and listening to their stories and their passions, these were my favorite years. Because it's at this point your friends and your classmates start to realize, all of this legalese, I can actually do stuff with it. Some of your friends will get more involved in student legal services. You'll watch them preparing their notes, putting on their suits, meeting with their clients, and heading off to trial to serve the underprivileged community. And of course, if you were like me, wearing the same sweats you had on the previous day, the one with the Cheetos stain on the collar, you ask yourself, what are you doing right now? You watch some of your other friends try out for moots. And those of you who don't know, a moot is a type of mock trial or a mock appeal. You see them poring over their factums. You see them arguing. You recognize at a certain point they're just so unbelievably tired, you're not even sure if you understand them anymore. You'll have your friends who will go into law review. And while I've never attended one of their meetings, I always imagine there to be leather chairs and someone nodding approvingly like, interesting point, Watson. And then for some of us with a bad sense of humor, you get involved in student governance. Looking back on my time at this faculty, however, I could not have been more happy to have served in student governance because once again, it gave me the opportunity to better understand members of this community. My favorite activity in my third year was to walk around the first floor, and everyone who I ran into, I'd have a brief discussion with. And then I would go up to the second floor, and I would do the exact same thing. I wasn't walking in the classroom, so if you're worried about like a protected educational atmosphere, that wasn't happening. And then I would go up to the fourth floor, and I would peek into every professor's office that I had. And to be honest, except on holidays when I was the only Yahoo in the building, I was never disappointed. Whether they were planning a function for an athletic team, giving back to the Edmonton community, preparing a note for the law review, they were always so proud of their work and their ability to give back to this tremendous community. So it was around this time, after 3 magical years, the faculty forced me to graduate. But it felt different than I did 3 years ago. I said to myself, you worked hard for 3 years. It's now time to show the world what you can do. Suits is going to be my life. And 1 month into arcing, I realized something profound. I still had a lot to learn. To this day, I still sit in a partner's office, and they'll be talking to me, and I'll just be sitting there, nodding my head, yes, we should consider that. And they would say something like, we're going to set this property up using a strata title, so you can get started on pulling some precedents for this. And you're sitting there, I agree completely. I am right there with you. We are in sync on this matter. You took the words right out of my mouth. You know what? Let's set up 2 strata titles. And this is the great thing about making a lot of friends in law school. You realize that you're all equally perplexed by this whole practice thing. But sure enough, after sobbing softly in my office for a quiet hour, I crawled out from underneath my desk. I sat down. I'm like, I have tools for this. And I researched. And you know what? After a lot of time and sweat, I eventually came up with a draft. And I was so proud to hand it in. I'm like, didn't know anything before, but I got something now. I remember talking with a partner in my firm about this, Don Cranston. And for those of you who don't know, Don Cranston is a very prominent member of the legal community. He has been practicing for a number of years, and literally anyone who knows him, anyone who's ever worked with him, and anyone who's ever sat across the table from him has said the same thing. Don Cranston is one of the finest lawyers you'll ever meet. So I said to Don, I'm really struggling here. 4 years of undergrad, 3 years of law school. I mean, at what point do you get to a point where you say, I've got the answers. I've got them all. And he looked at me and he said, when I get to that point, I'll let you know. He explained that there's a reason why lawyers practice the law, because they're never done learning. You'll never know everything. The world is an increasingly complex place with increasingly complex disputes. But what you do get over time is you get comfortable not knowing. You get excited about the challenge of solving a problem. You get excited about the prospect of identifying a novel solution to your client's problems. And this is where everything ties back to this moment. From this moment forward, you are embarking on a journey of constant practice, of constant learning, of constant change. And that's a really good thing. No law school will teach you everything you need to know. But if you listen intently to your professors, if you listen intently to your fellow students, and the diversity of their opinions, a diversity that spans any ideological, industrial, social spectrum that you can think of, if you listen carefully during law school, you won't know everything, but you're going to have a hell of a time figuring it all out. Now that ends the formal part of my speech, But I didn't want to leave without putting a stack of business cards up here. They gave me like 1,000. Like, I'm starting to feel a little guilty just looking at them on the desk. But once again, I understand that you're all really anxious. Trust me, I can feel it. But the beauty of the legal profession is that it's a small community. I've received tremendous advice during law school, advice for which I'm truly grateful. So I'm putting these business cards down here, and I'm saying if you ever need advice about getting ready for law school, the law school experience, a particular area of law, I may not always have the answers you're looking for, but I do have a lot of friends that would be willing to help guide you in the direction. So please contact me, and we'll go for coffee. Or if you own a large multinational corporation, we'll go for lunch and expense it. Thank you so much for your time today, and once again, congratulations.
Thank you, Scott. And I'm going to grab one of those right now. I would now like to introduce you to Dharam Dhillon. Dharam is a third-year student in the Faculty of Law and is currently the president of the Law Students Association. Before being elected as president, Dharam served as the LSA's VP Services. Dharam completed his undergrad at the University of British Columbia, where he earned his Bachelor of Kinesiology. Dharam grew up in Vancouver before moving to Edmonton for law school and will be returning to Vancouver this summer to begin his law career. Welcome, Dharam.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the University of Alberta Faculty of Law. A lot of what I'm going to say today will echo and repeat what everyone has already said, but they gave me a few minutes, so I'm just going to say it anyways. First of all, I want to say congratulations to all of you. These are exciting times because you're about to be in the next chapter of your lives. I'll only be taking a few minutes, and I will highlight some of the reasons why coming to the U of A Faculty of Law is the best choice that you can make. Before I do that, though, I'd like to offer my story as perspective. Like Kate said, I came to U of A without ever having known anyone in Edmonton, without ever having been to Edmonton. I took a chance without knowing what to expect, and as someone from Vancouver, the thought of an Edmonton winter was terrifying for me. But I took the chance, and I came here. And what I found was from day one, I was immersed in a culture of collegiality and camaraderie. Since my first days of law school here at the U of A, I've met people from all walks of life. I've been able to explore all my interests, and I've created a network of friends and colleagues who I expect will be lifelong friends. I've made some great memories over the course of these years, and though I didn't know it at the time, coming to the U of A Faculty of Law was one of the best choices I could have made. So what are some of the reasons why this was a good choice? Let's start with the faculty. We're fortunate here at the U of A to be learning from some of the most brilliant and creative legal minds around. Students at other schools learn from the textbooks that our professors write. So whether you know it or not, you'll be in good hands. Next, we have the student culture that I referred to earlier. Our faculty has an unparalleled collegial culture and atmosphere. From day one, there will always be something to do. We do our best here to try and help everyone hit the ground running. And as somebody who came here not knowing one, I can say firsthand that this is something that is greatly enjoyed and appreciated. This is something that we pride ourselves on, as not a lot of other law schools are like this. And finally, let's talk about the degree you'll get. The reputation of our degree opens doors for you wherever you want to go. The degree you'll get in a few years is respected around the world. It allows you to pursue whatever career path you desire, whether it's legal or not, whether it's in Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, New York. A JD from the U of A affords you the possibility to do whatever you want or go wherever you want. So, in conclusion, I just want to say that if you haven't already decided to come to U of A, take the plunge. It's not a decision you'll regret, and you'll end up having some of the best years of your life here. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to contact myself, Scott, or any other LSA exec. All our contact information is on the LSA website, and I look forward to meeting you guys in the tours. So once again, congratulations, and welcome to the Faculty of Law.
Thank you, Dharam. Next, we will hear from the Student Legal Services Executive Director, Sarah Sager. Sarah came to the U of A after completing a BA in Political Science with a minor in Women and Gender Studies at the University of Lethbridge. She is currently in her second year. Sarah volunteered with SLS during her first year with the criminal and legal education and reform projects, and worked with SLS last summer as a day leader with the Legal Education and Reform Project. She currently serves as the executive coordinator for the 2016 year. After graduation, Sarah plans to practice in civil litigation and family law. Please join me in welcoming Sarah.
First off, I'd like to extend my congratulations to everyone for getting into law school. It's quite an accomplishment. I know for myself, it was many nights of long hours studying, poring over essays, preparing for exams, and it really was an exciting time when I got my first letter from University of Alberta. They were the first school to accept me. And I know for you, everybody that manages to make it into law school to be accepted, that you've put in those hard hours. And so just congratulations to that, because it is quite the accomplishment. I'd also like to thank the faculty for asking me to come speak today. Thank you. I came here 2 years ago, not 100% sold on University of Alberta. My plans were to go to University of Ottawa and get a social justice designation on my degree. And I came up here and learned about student legal services, and I've been able to forge my own social justice degree without anything official, with working with the low-income community and the work that we do. And there's, as Dean Payton said, as Scott said, there is such a vast array of things that you can do here at University of Alberta, and really, you can forge your own way according to your own personality types. And within student legal services, we have that as well. We began in 1969 with 14 law students, and we've grown to over 300, nearly 300 volunteers this year. We've got 2 offices. We are the largest student-run legal clinic in Canada. And it is with the support of the faculty, the bar, and the bench that we are able to be so large and able to do such a great work that we do with the low-income community. We have lawyers that assist us on a pro bono basis, and on a basis that we pay them so little, it might as well be pro bono. We have the bench, the judiciary are very supportive of us. I've talked to many judges that are so appreciative of the work that we do in helping people that would normally not have the chance that they would, coming through the criminal justice system or the family justice system, or even the small claims court or other administrative tribunals. Just having somebody there that they obviously can't afford help, we provide that free, and we assist them through their legal issues, that they would be left to navigate that on their own. And we really do make a difference with access to justice here in Edmonton. We have 4 projects that everyone is able to volunteer with, and the nice thing with student legal services is right from your 1L year, anyone who wants to can come volunteer with us. And you can choose the project that you're with. If you choose the criminal law project, which is by far our largest project, we had 769 files this past year, which is 769 individuals that were assisted through the criminal justice system that would not have had assistance otherwise. And you can, if you volunteer with the criminal project, you can be in court in your first or second or third month, talking to a judge, asking for an adjournment, perhaps doing a summary disposition. I think I was a little bit shy in taking on files, and I think I was in the courtroom in November of my 1L year. We also have our civil family project, where you can also take on files. Just the nature of civil law with statute of limitations, we don't have as many files that come along, whereas criminal law, those issues never ever go away, and so there's a lot more issues with that. But we do small claims court, we do a do-your-own divorce clinic where we assist people filling out their forms. We go to administrative tribunals. We can do AISH appeals, workers' compensation appeals, things of that sort. We go to the Residential Tenancy Dispute Resolution Service and assist people with landlord-tenant disputes. Our Legal Education and Reform Project, which is my baby and close to my heart, because we go into homeless drop-in centers and soup kitchens, and we set out a table with pamphlets, and we talk to people and try to get them to the resources that they need. Often it's us, sometimes it's other areas, and we also give presentations. We have a mock trial that we do with a high school, which is lots of fun. We go through and teach them about a criminal trial, and then they get to do it themselves. We bring them to the moot courtroom, and that's lots of fun. We also have the local chapter of Pro Bono Students Canada is under the umbrella of Student Legal Services, and there you can do research projects if you're not as keen on taking on files and want a little bit more self-directed experience. You can do a research project for a not-for-profit organization. We also assist Pro Bono Law Alberta with Civil Claims Duty Council, where you can sit in and listen to lawyers give summary legal advice, and you can learn through watching, interviewing, and counseling, and these types of things. We also have a human rights project where you can go to the Human Rights Tribunal and represent people, and we just started this year a tax project. So the ability to volunteer with Student Legal Services is vast, and you can tailor it to your own personality, what you want to learn more about, and we take everyone that wants to volunteer, and that's something that is very different than perhaps other legal clinics where it is a competitive process. And when I was sitting here 2 years ago, I thought Student Legal Services, that's pretty excellent, and I would have never imagined that I would be leading the organization at this time. I'm a 2L student, and I'm leading an organization of nearly 300 people, and it's quite an incredible experience. The work that we do is done through mentoring, and so you're not left alone to navigate these files and help your students, help your principals. We have an agent-principal relationship, so we don't call them clients, we call them principals. You'll be assigned to a day leader who is an upper year student. Often you're in small groups, and so you get to know people outside of your cohort, sometimes from different years, and so that's one of the things that we talk about collegiality here at the University of Alberta. It very much is. Student Legal Services helps to bring that collegiality in because we bring people in, you get to know your classmates, and you have upper year students that you can get cans from, you can ask them like, gee, I don't know what's going on. I had an excellent day leader my first year that really helped me navigate my first year. And outside of the excellent work that we do with the low-income community, it also is very helpful for our academic careers. I will be downstairs during the Knowledge Cafe, so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. I love Student Legal Services. I could probably talk all day about it. But thank you for coming here, and I hope you really decide to come to University of Alberta. I do not regret one moment my decision to come here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Our next speaker will be Paul Kalita, president of the Golden Barristers rugby team and goaltender for the Tortfeasors hockey team. Paul was born in McBride, BC, and completed his undergraduate degree at the U of A Augustana campus on a hockey scholarship. He picked up rugby upon entering law school and has been heavily involved ever since. Paul will be starting his articles at Field Law in Edmonton come June. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, Kate. I've been asked to speak on behalf of my experience here as a student at the U of A. It feels a little bit odd because I can remember being in your exact position 3 years ago. I showed up here not being from Alberta, not being from Edmonton, didn't know anyone at the faculty, didn't know anyone at the campus, knew very few people in Edmonton. But after Welcome Day, I knew that the U of A was a place where I wanted to go attend law school. As you've heard from many of the other speakers, and you will hear throughout the day, the biggest reason was I just see the sense of community and camaraderie that this faculty has. In experiencing Welcome Day, I noticed that the students loved attending school here. They loved making the friends they made, and in particular, they loved all the extracurricular activities that are available here on campus. As Kate mentioned, I am president of the rugby team. When I came to law school, I'd never played rugby before. I'd played sports my whole life, but never rugby. And in hockey, I was a goaltender, so I'd never really taken too much part in the contact. So I was a little bit hesitant at first. But one of my roommates convinced me. He played a bit in high school, and now 3 years later, I'm the president. I play senior men's rugby at a club team here in town, and it was one of the best choices I made. A benefit of being on the rugby team is every year, as well as the hockey team, is we play a tournament against all the other law schools from across Western Canada. As far as rugby goes, we had never won before, and now we've won 3 years in a row, so I'd like to say I had a little bit to do with that. But this year we got to make the trip out to Vancouver. I think our team had 42 members. 39 were able to make the commitment to go all the way out to UBC, and this year we won, kicked a penalty with no time remaining on the final game to win the championship again. And it's memories like that that I think make the faculty here special. I mean, I played hockey my whole life. I've won championships in hockey, but winning a championship with my law school team, even though it was rec rugby, was one of the memories I'll never forget. And I think it's really a selling point on why the U of A Faculty of Law is such a great school. In traveling for sports at the U of A, as well as the different moots, you meet other students from other faculties and other schools. And the one thing that you definitely come to realize is that we definitely have a special community here at the U of A. I mean, every year for the rugby team especially, all the other schools have like 20 guys, 25. We have 40 or more every single year. And all the other schools are like, how do you guys do it? How do you get everyone out to play rugby? And honestly, it's just because I think the team is a lot of fun. We have people who have played before to people who have never played sports before. I mean, some of the guys on this year's team, I think my German Shepherd was bigger than them growing up. But they came out, they realized it's a great experience, and just the benefit of being part of a team and making new friends and getting involved in the community, not only at the faculty, but the broader community. Dean Payton mentioned earlier that both the rugby, the hockey team teamed up with Outlaw this year to put on a drag show event that raised over $1,500. The rugby team also sells a calendar every year. If you come, you'll have to buy a copy, and you will not regret doing it, or you might, but we use those funds to give back. I think every year we've been able to write a check for $500 to youth rugby for the club here in town. And it's those type of events that help someone, especially someone like me, who didn't come from Edmonton, really make a connection with people in the community and get to learn a bit more about Edmonton. Also, a reality of coming to law school is that you need to find an articling position. And being on sports teams such as rugby or being part of other groups such as Law Show or SLS really starts to initiate that process. Gives you the opportunity to meet alumni in the communities who played your sport or were part of your group. They work at firms at the bar in Edmonton, Calgary, across Alberta, across BC. And through various alumni events and social events throughout the year, you get to make those connections, start to meet the people, and start the process. For myself, I was fortunate enough to get a first-year job after my first year in summering, but I know that in meeting with the firms and meeting with the people, they mentioned the fact that I was part of, well, that year I signed up for rugby, hockey, SLS, Law Show, pretty much everything you could, which I highly encourage. But they noticed that taking those steps really put you out there and helped you stand out a bit and make those connections that is difficult a lot of times. I mean, it's not easy to begin networking, or you go up to people not knowing what to talk about, but then you can go, oh, you're alumni of the rugby team, so am I. You have a conversation starter, and it really begins the process of doing that. So I think the greatest thing that I've experienced in 3 years, has been mentioned by everyone, is the community here at the faculty. I mean, from day one, coming to law school has been fun. Law school is stressful enough as it is. I mean, you're going to have to learn how to think a new way. You're going to have to do too many readings on too many subjects of information you don't understand, even in third year. So it's great to have that balance and to know that you have a community surrounding you and extra activities where you can step back from your studies and truly enjoy the experience surrounding you. So if you do choose to come to U of A, I highly encourage you to get involved, whether it be on a rugby team, a hockey team, SLS, Law Show, many of the other various groups on campus. I encourage you to get involved, be part of it, and I don't think you'll regret your choice at all. I mean, I know I came in here not knowing anything, and within one day, I made the choice that was definitely the best for me. And for 3 years now, I've had a wonderful experience. Can't believe it's already over, but I mean, if you choose to make the same decision, I know you won't regret it. If anyone has any questions afterwards, I'll be around, whether you want to ask me about rugby, school, the faculty, anything to do. As Scott mentioned, feel free to contact myself or anyone else at any time. So one thing I notice is that alumni or current students are more than willing to help encourage you and help you in anything you need to make sure you ensure success. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Next up, we have Jacqueline LeBlanc. Jacqueline commenced studies at the Faculty of Law after completing her BA in Political Science and Women and Gender Studies, also at the University of Alberta. Jacqueline has been playing rugby since high school and was very eager to join the Panda Barristers in her first year. Now in her final semester of her degree, Jacqueline is the current president and co-captain of the Panda Barristers. She will begin her article this summer with Acromatia Law. Welcome, Jacqueline.
Hi, everybody. So I might be a little biased when I say this, but joining the Panda Barristers is the best decision that you'll make in law school. For the girls, I mean, the boys will have to join the boys' team. There's going to be a lot of things that you have to do in law school that aren't fun. I know that might be a surprise for some of you, but something that is really fun is the rugby team. It's competitive at the same time, but it's also a great group of people, and it's a really great way of meeting people in law school. Not only in 1L when you're just in the cohort with all the same people, but a lot of upper years as well. You'll make friends like I did in your first year that you'll have throughout your entire law school career. We're a very social group. We host many different events throughout the year, and we're also collegial with the men's team as well. So the past 2 years, we've brought back a tradition that we used to have, prom dress rugby, where the boys have to wear prom dresses, and it's just a friendly touch game between the two teams. And afterwards, the girls get to vote on the best dressed. So it's pretty fun. Like Paul mentioned, this past year we traveled to Vancouver for the Western Law Tournament. The girls came in a close second. This is the first time in a long time that I can even remember that we've had all four women's teams play from all the different Western schools. And so I think that's huge and it's a big accomplishment. I'm pretty proud of that. I know a lot of concerns joining is that I've never played rugby before and I don't even know the rules, and that's okay. We all kind of look like soccer players when they're like 10 years old chasing the ball, but you'll learn the rules. We have good coaches. They'll teach you what it's about. You don't even need to have ever played a sport before. Another concern is that I don't look like what a rugby player should look like, but you see me and I can barely see over this podium and I'm the captain, so you don't need to be too scared. There's really one thing I love about the sport is that there's a place for every body type, so even if you're a little bit interested, you should come check us out. So I hope to see all the ladies in the crowd on the field. Thanks.
Last, but certainly not least, we will be hearing from James Park to discuss his moot experience. For those of you who don't know, a moot is a mock trial, but you probably figured that out by now. James is a third-year student who came to the U of A after completing his degree in English and sociology at the University of Toronto. During his time at law school, James has served on the Law Students Association, the LSA, as the VP External, competed in the National Davies Corporate Securities Moot, and is currently the student member of the Admissions Committee. After working at a criminal law firm after his first year of law school, he worked at a full-service corporate firm in Toronto this past summer, and he'll be returning there after graduation to commence his articles. Please join me in welcoming James.
All right. I actually wasn't aware that there were some of you that were still on the fence about joining us. So before I actually get into it, I want to recommend that after this, when you get home, go on YouTube and search Law School Funk. You might see a familiar face. And it's part of the sales pitch. It's definitely worth it. Anyway, class of 2019, welcome to the Faculty of Law at the University of Alberta. I'm here to talk to you about mooting, but before I do that, I also want to join everyone else here today in the common theme of congratulating you. This year I have the opportunity to serve on the admissions committee, so I've actually had the chance to see firsthand just how impressive and qualified each and every one of you are. So congratulations and welcome. My name is James, and I'm a third-year student here, and I'm here to give you a brief introduction into mooting in general, as well as our competitive mooting program here. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the term, think of a moot as a mock trial, or more specifically, a mock appeals trial. You, as the mooters, will be acting as the lawyers for one of the two parties about whatever the dispute of the specific moot is. And the fun thing about tackling these moot problems is that they're seldom black and white and almost always thickly in the gray. And I'm going to give you guys an example that my fellow 3L friends will be quite familiar with. So we have two parties. One is an 11-year-old girl named Olivia. And the other party is a recreational facility here in Edmonton called Eat, Play, Learn, or EPL for short. Olivia was at a birthday party at rock climbing at this facility, and when she was about 15 feet high, she fell, broke her arm. Now, Olivia and her parents feel that EPL should be held liable. And why not? This girl has a broken arm and might even have suffered some permanent damage. She fell because of a faulty harness. One of the bindings became loose. And, it's even possible, and also on the facts, it's not even clear whether or not the staff members double-checked her before they cleared her to go on the wall. On the other hand, EPL is seeking for this appeal to be completely dismissed. Upon arrival, both Olivia and her father signed a waiver which wrongfully acknowledged that this 11-year-old girl was actually 13 years of age. In addition, when she was asked by an attentive and cautious staff member before given access to the wall if she was 13 or older, Olivia lied. And if she'd never told this lie, she probably would not have been granted access to the wall anyway. So, based on these facts alone, and you can actually answer, hands up, which side would you want to argue for? Olivia? All right. We've got one sympathetic man in the crowd. EPL? Okay. So, this is the type of moot problem that you'll be encountering 1L. And for those of you that really like and thrive in this process, you'll have the Brimacombe moot selection round to look forward to in your second and third years. The Brimacombe is an opportunity to try out to represent our school at both regional and national level moots on topics ranging from constitutional, criminal, intellectual property, health law, and corporate law, and even more. Last year, I was part of our Davies Corporate Securities team. And although it was much more rigorous than any other course that I took in my time at law school, I can honestly say that it was the best and my most cherished academic experience during my time here. And I should also mention that our teams do really well, exceedingly well at these competitions. Just this year, our Gale and Bowman tax teams were finalists at the national level. The Davies team just last week came in third. And the Sapinka team, after winning the Western Canada round, is currently, I believe, in Ottawa or Toronto competing in the national rounds. Now, the entire process can seem daunting and the preparation arduous. But when the time comes, I'd encourage every one of you to rise to the challenge and try your hand at competitive mooting and representing our school. If I can make you a promise about this, it's that it'll definitely be worthwhile and that you'll grow from the process. If any of you have any questions, concerns, comments about mooting, anything you've heard today, I'd be more than happy to speak with you afterwards. Once again, welcome and congratulations.
Okay. So thanks again to all of our speakers this morning.